Her name is Corinne Mayer, and she comes to us all the way from France, where she now lives and works, sort of, yeah? A couple days a week. She works at a job as an economist, or at least did at the time that I was doing my research, for a giant electrical company called EDF, Électricité de France. They tried to fire her because she was, quote, pursuing a strategy of rotting the company from within. She says one other interesting thing that I thought I'd bring out, and then of course she'll come out and speak for herself. She says that North Americans believe that they can create themselves through their work, that they can change their life, that they can become rich. In France, she says, we don't believe that. It was interesting to hear that Frank Palmer's dad hated his job. Corinne Mayer tells us there are lots more people like that out there. Corinne Mayer.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I will sit on the chair because I'm afraid of being in front of you, especially if I have to speak in English for 20 minutes. I think it's a huge challenge. And as I am the lazy lady, maybe my speech will be shorter. I don't know. First, I want to say that my presence here is a misunderstanding. Because I come from France, and in France, it's a small country, and nowadays nothing much happens apart from riots and unrest. In fact, I'm not really French. I was born in Switzerland, and very short, I'm going to live in Belgium. And sometimes I say that I am francophone, a word that means that I speak French. And to speak French is a good thing because you can, for example, you can read Marcel Proust in the original version, or you can order a café croissant in Paris without being rebuffed. But to speak French is also a burden because French language is obey to very strict rules, and French people themselves often feel stuck when they speak the language. I say their language because in fact they think that they are the only one to speak French correctly, in the proper way. And they think that, for example, African people, Belgian people, Swiss people, or Canadian don't speak French correctly. The second reason why my presence here is a misunderstanding is that I write essays for my own pleasure. So I've written a couple of books, and none of them has sold very well, apart from the book about laziness. And I've written bizarre biographies, essays about psychoanalysis, a book about art. Some of them are considered as being intellectuals. Some of them has been translated, which I'm very proud of. But I would say that I don't care if some of them hasn't been so successful, because in fact I do it for my own pleasure. I've been inspired by authors, French authors like Roland Barthes, Jacques Lacan, or Michel Foucault. And through my writing, I often try to mix different approaches and different way of seeing things. The third reason why my presence here is a misunderstanding is that, to be frank, I don't believe in ideas. For example, if I tell you capitalism will soon die, or if I tell you since the end of communism we have no alternative to capitalism, here you have two ideas, true or false. But they are almost common sense because we have heard them before. So they are not new and we don't think about them. I believe that new things come from a shock. They come from new ways of mixing things, doing things. I give you an example. In the 1930s, the French anthropologist Claude Lévi-Strauss went to New York because of the war. And there he met a lot of interesting people. Among them was Roman Jakobson, an influential linguist. And because of this, Claude Lévi-Strauss decided to try to blend linguistics and anthropology. And this gave way to a completely new approach of his field. Of course, I'm not Claude Lévi-Strauss, but I try to find new tiny ways to blend things or to comment texts. And I would say that in my book, Hello Laziness, that is a book about work, I try to read the big companies' jargon. Because when I use the word text, I mean any kind of linguistic production. And I think big structures produce a kind of text, because in a big structure, in big companies, people often speak kind of jargon. They use buzzwords, business plan, for example. I like this one, or you have plenty of them. And so it's fun to use this kind of jargon, this kind of bizarre verbiage, to try to understand it, to try to comment it, and to make fun of it. Because I think this book is a commentary connected to what is told and what is said inside big structures. It's also a reflection on white-collar environment, white-collar environment that has grown exponentially those last 20 years. And it's a book that makes fun of the people that you find there, engineers, salesmen, managers. This begs the question, what is the point of the existence of white-collar people? It seems, when we look the figures, when we look surveys, that in rich countries, in developed world, we less and less enjoy working. In France, figures show that there is less and less people that are happy with a job. And it's true also in America, because you may think, of course, that French people are lazy. But I think it's wrong. In fact, to me, French people, they are morose in a rigid society where little is possible. But in America, for example, figures show that only 1/3 of the workers say that they love the job. And a survey shows that they spend 2 hours a day doing, in fact, nothing. Or, for example, they spend 2 hours a day chatting with coworkers, playing computer games, or sending personal emails. And this, I think it's interesting to see that the more we consume and the less we enjoy producing. Generally speaking, maybe the more we are rich and the less we are happy. I think this is a kind of paradox, but we have to think about it. Because, of course, you can say that it doesn't matter if people are motivated or not. But I think it's very important, because if people are not motivated, they work in a mechanical fashion. And as Ovid said, slaves make poor workers. I think here comes the key word, that is desire. Because of course, if what you do is connected with a personal desire, you do it well because it's interesting to you and you are motivated. But if it's not, you can just pretend being motivated and do the minimum. I think psychoanalysis can be a way to our own desire. Most people don't know what they want in life, and so they don't really choose what they do. I think those who actually choose are the lucky one, but it's not everybody. I think they are a minority. And most of the people, in fact, choose but not really choose. They choose because they want to please their parents or they want to impress the neighbors. I've been very much inspired by psychoanalysis because I think psychoanalysis is a way to understand the connection between our action and our desire. According to the French psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan, our desire has nothing to do with goods or ideals. And he summarizes it in a sentence that is a question: have you acted in conformity with the desire that is in you? And it means to him that those who don't are traitors. You see here that Jacques Lacan was an extremist, as sometimes French people tend to be. So the people who don't know what they want and who don't choose what they wind up to be are the heroes of my book, Hello Laziness. They are those who don't believe in it. They are those who have other things outside life that is far more interesting than what they do than the daily grind. They are the non-believers, and of course, they have to pretend because they need a job in order to survive. I can give you a few tips in order to survive if you are bored with your job. First of all, you have to remain anonymous. Don't make waves. Never hold minority positions. Be very nice with your managers. Work as hard as possible to be given the most useless positions inside your company. Act as if you were working under a deluge of tasks. Try to make your work done by others, preferably temp workers or students. And the last point, I would say, speak the company's jargon, use all the buzzwords to make you feel more important than you actually are. If you follow my advice, you will breathe through any kind of restructuration. Nothing can happen to you. While your co-workers, who sometimes work much more than you, will get fired. There is no justice. I agree with you. But it's the way things work. So the epidemic caused by Hello Laziness, by my book, has spread in Europe. So I have become a very successful author, especially in France, in Germany, in Italy, and in Spain. America, as a whole, as far as I know, has been less interested. I think it is a misunderstanding. Because I know that in America, you have people that work very little, too. It's not only an European phenomenon. I know that for sure because I have read this American author called Scott Adams. He's the well-known author of very funny books and cartoons about work. His character, Dilbert, is very famous all around the world, does very little in a white-collar environment, and to me, Dilbert is a master as far as laziness is concerned. Anyway, the popularity my book has enjoyed is maybe the proof that more and more workers are becoming parasites inside their own company. So maybe, if this continues, the economic system in which we live in will fall down, will fall to pieces. You may say, oh, this is very shocking. I'm not sure it's so scandalous, because the world we live in is scandalous too. It's a world obsessed by short-term profit, turning their worker into slaves, and I would say, to summarize, sometimes very boring. So maybe, if all this fall to pieces, we would get a chance to see something different. But I have no idea about what could happen if everybody would be practicing laziness, and I don't have anything to propose or to sell. You see here that I have no new ideas, but I have questions. What is the price of a boring life? What means work to you? Is it creativity or fun? Is it obedience and conformity? What is the most useless? To do something interesting that produces nothing but fun? Or is it to do something boring that produces useful goods? Is individual desire crossed with work? I try to find the last one. Last question. What would happen if everybody would practice laziness? What would happen to the world we live in? Do you really care? And the last one, why do you really care? Thank you very much.